Hello and welcome back to my channel where I like to have fun with all things beauty while being critical about what I accept into my collection. Today I am doing a new makeup video. So I like to do these from time to time. I don't have a set schedule just yet, but I know a lot of creators do this video, whether it's a new makeup hot takes or a will I buy it. It's all kind of just going over the Instagram pages that cover what's coming out in the beauty industry and sort of have their finger on the pulse of that and having a reaction to it. I love watching those videos. I find them very entertaining, primarily because the creators, at least the ones that I watch that do these videos, they're not buying 100% of it. A lot of times they're just ripping it apart, and I think that's highly entertaining. So I try actually not to prepare for these videos. Most of the time I do take a look, so I have some idea of what I'm gonna see when I start going through these Instagram pages, but this time I really didn't do that. So you're going to get a true hot take. These are going to be my initial and very real reactions seeing these things for the first time. It's always more fun in the holidays because brands are just throwing stuff at the wall, so a lot of it is really nice and they're stepping it up because they need to sell product right now and compete with a lot of other really good things. But because there's such a high quantity of stuff coming at us, there's some real losers too. And yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't like those just as much, if not more. So we'll see if we have any of those today. Really quick, some housekeeping. So I am in the middle of a wear test today. I am going through my Sephora order and I am getting as much B-roll as possible because I know from this distance you can't see detail, and frankly I am not at the point where I am ready to really figure out what I can do with the camera setup I have right now. Even just today, like, I am barely able to change the ISO on my own. I really struggle with the camera stuff. So what I'm doing to be able to do base product, in particular reviews, without needing to figure out how to do that on this camera is I'm doing it on my older camera where I can't shoot full videos, but I can take really great photos. So I'm getting a ton of B-roll so you can see up close. I really want to put these products through their paces, so I am doing that every day that I wear makeup, and my goal is to have that done before Black Friday at the latest so that I have some useful content out there for anybody that is considering buying these. These are newer products, so anybody considering picking these up during the sales, we are definitely in sale season. So if I'm wasting my money, I'm hoping to at the very least provide people with content so they don't have to waste theirs. Obviously, I love to find good makeup, but with the cost of most of these things being what it is, I really want people to have as much information as possible before they make their purchases. So that leads me to a quick update about what I've been testing so far. In my first Sephora haul, I talked about the Dior Stick Foundation. I had tried it a few times and I'm currently testing it with different primers to see if that makes a difference. My initial reaction was I like it, but I don't think I love it. Now that I've worn it a few more times, I don't know, I'm actually liking it even less. It's what I have on my face today, and I can't quite put my finger on it because it's not like it's failing in some horrible way. Like the Tom Ford Stick Foundation separated and clung to dry patches. It was very obvious why I did not like that foundation. This is just kind of it's like an overall, I don't really know how to describe it other than the fact that when I use my Nars Light Reflecting, I feel hydrated and glowy and I just like the look. So it could just be that it's not glowy enough, but I use powder, so I don't know if it's just that. Long-winded way of saying I might actually return this. I still have other things to test it with before I make that conclusion, but at least right now, you know, if you're shopping for it and your shade is sold out and you have dry, sensitive, mature skin like I do, I wouldn't say it's the end of the world. I think there are better foundations out there. I don't think this is game changing. I think it's probably still the best stick foundation that I've ever found, but I gotta say, when I put it on, I'm never happy with how I look. So that's gonna lead me to not want to use it, and that's just how I'm feeling. I don't expect anything to change drastically, but I will definitely update in my future video where I talk about all of these products long term, and obviously if I return it, that's a resounding failure. But if I keep it, it stayed in the okay category. Also today I am testing the Creal concealer next to the Natasha Denona concealer. So Natasha Denona is like my third favorite concealer. Kulfi and Kosas are tied at number 1, and then Natasha Denona is number 3. I like all three. I especially love the Natasha Denona for the shade range. So far, it's been several hours and I like it just as much as the Natasha Denona. I mean, the Creal really isn't beating out my favorites. All it's doing is actually being just as good, which is something that I can't say for the other like 50 concealers that I've tried in the last 2 years. That means that the Creal one is good, but I don't think that you necessarily need it. I have a bunch of stuff going on my under eyes. I don't have any Botox right now, and at least so far, it's only just as good as those other three. One surprising thing that I might return is the Kulfi Pot eyeshadow. I have it in Sona Sona. I might actually return that because I didn't realize that I really couldn't use it with any other products. I have to use it just on its own, and I'm most likely never going to do that. So, as pretty as it is, because it is pretty, it's sparkly and it's pretty, I have other things. Like I have the KVD Dazzle Stick. I don't like it more than that, so I will probably be returning that along with the Patrick Ta Eye Duos. To other things that are sort of on the chopping block, the Gucci bronzer. I'm not sure if it's patchy. I can't really tell. So if it's patchy, I'm not keeping it. I do love the color of it, but I can't stand patchy bronzers, so that's sort of under the microscope right now. And finally, the Merit Great Skin, the moisturizer slash primer. I think it might be breaking me out. I'm using a different primer today, so we'll see. It's always a little bit difficult because I have acne, so I'll get pimples for no reason, but I'm also sensitive, so I will get pimples sometimes because of a product. So I just sort of need to give it a few days and I should be able to figure that out. And I think that's it for updates. I think all of my first impressions, I mean, most of them stand. The only thing that sort of shifted downward would be my feelings about the Dior Stick Foundation and the Kulfi, but everything else is about the same. So, okay, with that out of the way, I am going to open up Instagram. My two favorite pages are Makeup on Your Radar and Point Click Vibes. So I'm just going to start with Makeup on Your Radar. And the last few things are fragrance. So I'm going to skip fragrance. I talk about fragrance sometimes, but in general, I don't know a lot about it. So I'm not really the most qualified person to talk about those. Sorry, I have a puppy, so we're doing the inside-outside game right now. All right, I'm also going to skip some of the brands that I've never tried anything from because I don't really have anything to say about them. The first indie brand, that's one that I know, is this from Oden's Eye, so the Christmas release. I just don't like this. Point blank, I think the color story is ugly for both. I really dislike both. I would say if I had to pick one, I would probably go with a lighter one that looks like a spring palette to me, just because those are all shades that I could see, you know, they would definitely work for me, but I'm not compelled. I pretty much stopped buying from Oden's Eye because I felt like their shadows just didn't hold up the best. In my opinion, I have a few of their palettes and I like them, they're fine, but not every shade is consistent in formula, and I don't know, I feel like with this many really good indie brands competing these days, I can't justify. It's like I almost feel like I have a very limited number of indie brands that I can purchase from at any given time, and Oden's Eye just does not make the cut anymore. It's not the only brand that I feel that way about, but it's to the point where stuff would need to be like 75% off for me to even consider it because I don't reach for the palettes that I have. So, wow, there's a lot of fragrances. This Naughty Nonna from Snif, that's funny. I have too many fragrances right now, but that's definitely funny. All right, I see another palette from the Ensley Rain. I think they're coming out with a series. This one has a little bunny on it. I just saw a content creator that I'll put in the description box. I think her name is Ella. She pointed out that this was like $5 clip art. So even though it's adorable, and I absolutely think it's adorable, I don't love how Ensley goes about their artwork. You know, I get that they need to bring costs down where they can, but I think they could find a better way to do that. I'm just being honest. You know, is it better than AI? Sure, but when there's this much competition, every little detail matters, and for me, that's never going to stop me from buying from them, but that combined with not being compelled by a color story, that combination, that'll do it. I definitely plan on buying from them at some point. They've been on my radar for a long time now. They're on my list. I am going to pick something up from them when I see the right palette. But so far, I have not been liking these 6 pans. I like that they're cheaper. It's a good introduction. But yeah, the color story is just all right. It's just, I don't know. It's not knocking my socks off. Speaking of not knocking my socks off, the very next thing I see is the new Nomad release. I am such a sucker for the Nomad, the fantasy of it all. I love their artwork. I love their themes. I think their entire brand concept is so much fun. However, their formula is genuinely just okay. It's good, it's usable, but it's not fantastic. And now that I have as many eyeshadow palettes as I do, I'm just always going to want to reach for the fantastic shadows. I'm never going to actually want to pick up and use a palette just because it looks pretty. I actually have one of their palettes sitting on my dresser as artwork because I like their artwork that much, but that is not a good reason to buy a palette. I could print it out and frame it. I don't need to buy the palette. So at this point, I am 99.9% sure that I will be skipping this. I have moments of weakness, so something crazy could happen, like I could get possessed and pick this up, but as of now, I don't need this color story. I have the neutrals. I even have the neutrals from them already. I don't need any more blue eyeshadow in my life. And I don't like red. I just don't really like red eyeshadow. And I also have enough red eyeshadow from them to last a lifetime. So this is a pass. It kills me because I grew up reading that book and knowing Nomad, they'll probably throw a bell in and make it that much cuter. But I have to do my best to resist. By the way, I think last year I finally saw the movie. That was disturbing. I was so creeped out by that. I'm not even sure I watched it to the end, but there was no nostalgia there. There was like genuine fear. I did not like the movie. I loved the book as a kid, but I think I don't even really remember the story. I think it was just the illustrations themselves being so pretty. I think that's what I liked about it so much, but I don't know. I mean, as always, it's as cute as ever, but I just really can't justify another eyeshadow palette in my life right now. Something would really need to be special for me to buy it. Plus, with indie brands, there's a lot of sales coming up. So most indie brands definitely do the whole Black Friday, Cyber Monday thing. So some things could sell out, obviously, but I would say if you're going to try anything from Nomad, New Zealand Stargazing, that's my #1 palette, and definitely wait for Black Friday. By the way, I mean, I on Instagram always follow these sales, so I'll always post them there. If I see anything really crazy, I'll put it on my YouTube community tab, but I don't know that I have enough followers for that. I don't know if people see my community tab, but I definitely keep my Instagram, especially my stories, very up to date when I see sales. I see a new Viseart palette. This is probably the first Viseart palette that has caught my eye in like 3 years at least. I mean, I feel like Viseart has become such a sleepy brand. I have like 10 of their mini palettes. That was when I first got into makeup a couple years ago. I started with Viseart, and I'm so glad that I did because they're great, and they're great shadows to have to learn with because they perform really well. But their shimmers leave a lot to be desired. And obviously, you know, diving into the world of indie makeup, like, it's hard to go back and be excited about Viseart after that. But I think across the board, people have sort of forgotten about them. So maybe this is them trying to spice things up. I'm definitely not buying this. I don't like this enough to pick this up, but I think it's pretty, and I hope that they keep trying. I would love for them to come back. I have really fond memories of using their palettes. All right, we have a new palette from Adept. Absolute pass for me because of the formula. I have several palettes from Adept. I'd say I think I have 5 or 6 at this point, maybe 7 or 8. I have a bunch. And I really like the colors. I get so excited about the shimmers, but the formula just really doesn't work out well for me. It's a very emollient and a little bit thicker of a formula, and while that can lead to super amplified sparkle, it can also lead to creasing. And I mean, I have decently hooded eyes. I don't have oily eyelids, so it's not really that. It's more the application itself. I don't enjoy using them. I don't like interacting with them. So as much as when I'm looking at these foil duochrome gorgeous shades, I'm just not even considering it because it's a formula thing at the end of the day. I would much rather get singles than a whole palette, especially this one, because I don't like the mattes. I don't like the shades chosen for the mattes, so that's an easy pass. All right, we have a restock of the Fantasy Cosmetica Harvest of Souls palette. I might get this. I have a couple of singles from Fantasy Cosmetica, and I just really like the brand. I really like their attention to detail. I really like their formula. The only reason I haven't bought a palette from them yet is because I've never seen a color story that has really stood out. I passed on this when it first came out because I am still on the fence about the color story. I don't really feel like I love it 100%, but I am strongly considering it if I get to it in time, because frankly, I want to support the brand and I want to try more shadows from them so that I can talk about them with more authority. Right now, just having a couple singles, I can't speak to the matte formula. You know, there's a lot that I don't know yet. So I've been waiting for a palette to try. I'm still on the fence, but it might be this one. So we have new Dieux eye patches. I already bought these. I haven't received them yet, but 100% of the proceeds go to GLITS, which is a Black trans-led organization dedicated to fighting systemic discrimination against marginalized communities. That's all I needed to hear. As soon as I saw that, I bought it. I actually already own these eye masks from years ago when they first came out, but I like them. You know, I don't use them as often as I should. I don't use masks in general. Like, I don't use face masks, and I have all kinds. I have the overnight kinds. I have the DIY kinds. I have the rubber kinds from Experiment. I have, oh, so many masks, and I never use them because I'm always doing stuff. I feel like I just never think about it. It never occurs to me to put a face mask on of any kind. Even these, like when I first got them, I was like, I'm gonna put them on in the morning while I'm getting ready to, you know, do my makeup and whatever. Never occurs to me. So was this the smartest purchase I've ever made in terms of me actually needing the item? No, but I love Charlotte, I love Dieux, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna gift the masks that I own already to a family member, and then I'm going to use these. So whenever I do remember to actually use an eye mask, which is much easier than a face mask, so I'm going to try, I'm going to use these and I'm going to feel good about it and be really happy that I'm supporting a good cause. We have a Sonia G release. I mean, these are stunning. All of her brushes are absolutely stunning. I'm going to pass because I have way too many brushes. If you were here for my brush video, I have an entire video dedicated to going over the almost 200 brushes that I own. I'm not super proud of that, but I have too many brushes. So I have some from Sonia G. I like them. They're beautiful, but yeah, that's going to be a hard no, especially during this time of the year where I just feel constantly broke. All right, and finally from this page, I'm going to talk about the Auric face palettes. We have 3 varieties, Daybreak, Eventide, and High Noon. And these are really pretty, but I've never tried anything from Auric, and I don't think this would be the first thing I pick up. I actually do use face palettes sometimes. I use the heck out of my Hourglass ones, and I love those, but the difference is those are powder. So even though I actually prefer cream blush, I don't on a daily basis reach for cream bronzer or highlighter. And even though I have both and I do use them sometimes, it's just not my preference on a day-to-day basis. And I sort of already know how I feel about this because I have this from Salt New York. I have a beautiful palette from Salt New York with all colors that I chose. I mean, in a lot of ways I prefer that because I, got to make a totally custom palette. I get that there's a mixer here to sort of help you do that, whatever. I don't use that palette. I never use it. I used it a lot when I first got it, and then I just fell off. And I know it's because it's creams. And as much as I love staring at this, and I think it's aesthetically very pleasing, I know I'm not going to use it. So I'm not going to buy it. I do hope to one day. At the very least, I want to try one of the minis of the Glow Lust. I've been meaning to do that for a long time, so I don't know. I don't know if this brand has any sales during the holidays, but if they do, that will definitely be the time that I will choose to try the mini of the Glow Lust. But this is going to be a pass for me. If you use creams though, I'm sure that these are good formulas. I don't think they put out bad formulas. Point Click Vibe has a lot of the same things, but here I also see this palette from Nars. This is basic. This is as basic as it gets, but it's safe and it's pretty, and if it was free, I would use it. But it's not free, so I will not be buying this. Yeah, I mean, I feel like for this to be exciting or worth it, you'd have to have almost no makeup. I think it's a solid formula, but I certainly don't think it brings anything new to the table. I see a new moisturizer from Glow Recipe, the Banana Souffle. This looks nice. I have liked the stuff that I've tried from Glow Recipe generally. I haven't really been disappointed. But I feel like I like Pharmacy a little bit better, and it's sort of like a similar deal. So I'm going to stick with my Honey Halo. That's definitely my favorite moisturizer in this sort of category. And all right, then I'm seeing a lot of stuff that I have. I see the Huda palette, the Len Bunny, the Patrick Ta, and the Natasha Denona. So I don't have the Natasha Denona. Roxa, I'm just not a fan. I don't really need those shades, and I was not a fan of that. But that is about it. Really quick, I'm just going to check Trend Mood to see if I missed anything, and I don't really think I did. The only thing that's jumping out to me is this Lisa Eldridge, the new lipsticks. I don't like this packaging. I like the idea behind it. I like the aluminum. I love the innovation and trying to get more sustainable. I appreciate that, and I hope it continues. However, I don't like how it looks. Something about it, aesthetically, it just turns me off. And I don't really see any colors here that I personally feel like I need, so I'm going to wait. Hopefully this won't be the only design. And I have yet to buy anything from Lisa Eldridge. There's a bunch of stuff that I've wanted to test out, but nothing has seemed like it was the perfect fit, so I haven't done that yet. I see the Armani Luminous Silk Liquid Highlighter. I mean, I just personally, I feel like I never want to put the time in to use a liquid highlighter. I just feel like I need to be a little bit more careful with it, and because of that, I don't know. I do think they can look really pretty. I have one of these Charlotte Tilbury wands, and I think it looks really pretty when I do take the time to use it, but I don't really feel like it's necessary. I have a gel powder from Pat McGrath, one of her special edition highlighters, but like, you know, there's a bunch that have come out now in that formula, and I really like that formula. So because it never disturbs anything underneath it, and it's just super quick to put on, I find myself never really touching my other highlighters. So I feel like even though I'm sure this is stunning, I am also sure that I don't need it. So, all right, I think that's about it. I'm going to try my best to do this a little bit more frequently so that I don't have to skip around so much. I would love to sort of just pick a date and talk about everything, but as it stands, like, this video would be too long and I don't think anybody would want to watch it. So I'm going to keep doing it this way for now. And I hope at the very least that was entertaining. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. I love you so much. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.